Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70 Millimeter, a podcast for film lovers. Every Monday, I'm joined by famous artist Danny Haas.
Not that I wanted to smoke, but I kind of was like, man, this looks really cool.
And writer, poet, Protolexis.
Really, my main point is that Maggie Cheung is a miracle of cinema.
And together as friends forever, we discuss recently watched movies. Later in this episode, we're finally covering Wong Kar-wai's romantic drama, In the Mood for Love. Is this the love story set in 1962 Hong Kong we've been waiting for? And is this one of the greatest films of the 21st century? Find out now. In the Mood for Love by Wong Kar-wai, streaming right now on the Criterion app or HBO Max. Danny, how do you feel getting into this episode? Because there's a lot of buzz in our Discord about a review that posted this week from your partner,
A partner in crime.
Casey. She posted a rating for this movie that really tore up our Discord. So how do you feel going into this episode?
I'm excited to talk about this film. It was a topic of conversation since the night we watched it.
Really?
Casey won't stop talking about it. I won't stop listening to her talk about it. We've had words.
Just to set the stage, Casey gave it 2.5 stars.
2.5
After
stars.
the speech that we had from Proto last week, trying to save this year with this episode for In the Mood for Love. Proto, did you have an emotional reaction when you saw that review?
I did. It was like getting punched in the gut. But at that point, I hadn't seen the movie, so I thought, hey, maybe
she's right.
maybe she's right.
Maybe we'll find out. Bottom of the hour, we're going to get into our thoughts for In the Mood for Love. But this is the last show of the year. Later in this episode, I'm going to make my announcement for the first movie of 2021. January is going to be cult month for 70 Millimeter. We're only going to be doing cult movies.
Big.
And I had to do some Googling just to see what is defined as a cult movie. You can call it a cult classic. It's a movie that has acquired a cult following. And I'm already tired of saying the word cult just in the first 30 seconds of that explanation.
We're going to have to beep it out in the next episode.
Better
Matthew in Discord says, Heathers or GTFO?
My gosh.
You talk about a cult movie,
Wow.
Heathers.
Never seen it.
Imagine Casey's review of Heathers. That might be a 2.5 banger for
Heavens.
Casey.
Oh, man.
So I have my pick lined up. I dropped a teaser last week about it. I'm really excited to announce that later in the show. We're also going to go through our year-end fave movie of the year. I wonder if we should just jump into that right now.
Do you want to?
Each host will reveal their favorite movie of the year. It doesn't have to be a movie released this year necessarily. But Proto, have you been thinking about this? Are you ready to divulge your fave movie of 2020?
Yeah, my favorite movie that I watched this year, I was looking at all the 5 stars I gave out over the course of the year. There was a bunch, I think it was around like 35ers. So I had a lot to look at and consider. Maybe 30, somewhere around there. Who can say? You guys can figure it out on Letterboxd. So it was a close call. My runner-up for the year, I'll just say runner-up.
Oh, wow.
1917. I watched that 3 years ago, back in January. And man, it's a delight. What was I saying? Saying to my wife, when we get a 4K TV, that might be the first movie I watch on there.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
cannot wait to revisit 1917. I watched it twice this year. Like when we, I think when we reviewed it, I watched it like twice that week because I loved it so much. But that's not my movie. My favorite movie that I watched this whole year is Ghibli.
What?
Oh.
Miyazaki, his movie from 2013, The Wind Rises.
Oh my God.
Goodness. Whew.
This
Is
movie, it just,
I love it.
I'm a sucker for a biopic,
Mhm.
you know? And when somebody can tell a life story in under 2 hours and do it so well, it just wins me over in every way. Also the just like, again, this movie, it's about this an engineer who works on a Japanese fighter plane, the Zero, and it's like him growing up, his love for airplanes, him working on this, his career, his wife. It's just an amazing movie, and I love it to pieces. And when I think of Miyazaki, his movies just make you feel good. But it's not just like a feel good movie. It's also just like a beautiful work of art that I love. So that's my pick. My favorite movie that I've watched all year.
I can't believe it.
It's a great pick.
I can't believe it. There's whispers on Twitter that Danny is going to be recruited once more to Dune Pod to talk about a Ghibli film. Was that accurate, what I saw on Twitter?
I don't know. There was a lot of ads going around that day.
There was a lot of ads. I might even let that reference to Dune Pod come through. Maybe it's time to lift the
You
ban.
can cut it if you want.
I can still cut it? Okay, we'll let
It's
the
up to
editing
you.
team
You can-
decide what to do for that.
Dale's sweating.
Dale's making the cut motion again on his neck.
Feels
I'm going to
sick.
save Danny for last. I'm going to go next. And I'm going to steal Proto's vibe with this runner-up business. We hadn't talked about that beforehand. That was an ad lib. I wasn't expecting it. My runner-up for Fave Movie of the Year 2020 70mm edition, LLC, VHS Village, is also 1917. That movie, I have that on my faves list, and I also couldn't believe that was this year that we saw that. But that was the second episode we did. If you look back on it, the first official episode,
Crazy.
Abyss was our pilot, quote unquote, episode. What an amazing cinematic experience that was. But my fave movie of the year is going to be Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Oh, Matthew.
That movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen that movie yet, first of all, shut this podcast off now
Mm-hmm.
and go buy that Blu-ray. Not 19, it says 2019, but I think official release was 2020. That movie, I've never felt in the human body what I felt when I saw that movie in the theater next to Proto, crying like a wee child at the Ritz, Philadelphia.
My goodness.
I'm looking at my review.
The energy that was coming off your body.
I was radiating human emotion next to Proto. I'm looking at my review right now. Eloise's reaction to being called pretty absolutely blew me away. And it still does to this day. You're working on an API right now on Letterboxd. See if you can do some kind of reverse APIing and add a 6-star feature. There's been rumblings of that in Discord.
Are we
so that
hacking Letterboxd?
Can we hack into the API? This is the plot of the net,
Can we
I think.
go into the computer?
With Sandra Bullock. But that's my pick. Danny, please, the world awaits.
I too was going to steal Proto's runner-up, John, because I did write two down. So the runner-up for me would have been Little Women.
Oh.
And that movie has kind of stuck with me all year. I think about it quite often because I love the cast a lot, and they keep popping up in other movies that I just am reminded about how great that movie was. But for me, my number one of the year was a very old movie that I would probably have never watched without this podcast. So my favorite movie that I dove into this year was Casablanca. And
Wow.
I think about that often enough to where I could probably watch it weekly. I was like, should I watch Casablanca again this week? I love that movie a lot. So that's my pick for the year. I finally got around to it. I think It's always been one of those movies where I didn't think I'd ever care too much to watch it. People talk about it way too much. It's quoted so much. It's in everything.
Mm-hmm.
But this podcast made me see the otherwise, and here I am watching Casablanca for the first time in 2020.
Here's looking at you, Sam.
Mm-hmm. Something
Right.
like that.
Famous line of that movie.
Round up the usual suspects.
So there it is.
Holy smokes. I do want to call out, if you're looking for another podcast to hear my nasally voice on, I was lucky enough to be a special guest on a Letterboxd show this week for, quote, its shitless and bangers episode. I'm not sure if that's going to make it past the censors, but we
have
talked about
rules in America.
Our least favorite movies that we watched in the pandemic, but still had fun with, and our faves. So that was a lot of fun. I was able to, once again, share my Kyle MacLachlan stunt ass story from Showgirls, which made it all worthwhile in the end. Danny, what about you? Did you watch anything else?
Oh, yeah. This week we watched Love Actually, yearly Christmas movie to watch. A lot of people do that. I watched Meet Me in St. Louis for the first time, and that was incredible. And whatever copy they have on HBO Max right now, it's beautiful. Whatever they've done, I don't know if they've done a 4K transfer or something, or restored. It's beautiful. That was a great, great film. I added another notch to my Bond watch and watched Moonraker. Gave that trash 2 stars. I can't believe how bad that movie was.
I tried to see what I did, and that was one of the rare ones that you rated it lower than I did.
Oh, gosh.
I was shocked.
I think in my review, I asked, how did the Bond franchise survive the Roger Moore era? And just baffled.
It was rough.
Baffled by that. I think that's about it. I watched Shop Around the Corner with Jimmy, my boy Jimmy Stewart. It's a good one.
Stew.
And then today I saw that Disney put on Disney Plus the animated short that Walt Disney and Salvador Dali started working on, I believe in 1946, called Destino. And it's a beautiful short. Very cool if you want to check out kind of Salvador Dali's animation or Salvador Dali's art in animation, and it's kind of beautiful. So there you go.
Added that to my watch list after I saw that review.
Nice. It's 6 minutes, Matt. You can get to it, okay? 6
Listen,
minutes.
I got a lot of office hours to get through with Tim Heidecker on YouTube. We'll see where the wind takes me. Bottom of the hour. We're almost there for In the Mood for Love. I do want to call out that Sean, who might actually be listening live now, asked this a couple months back on Twitter for us to consider doing this because it had a recent release. And he just joined our Discord this week, along with Ben and Tyler. And you can too. If you're looking for a place to talk movies with us, get a snazzy VHS Village membership card delivered right to your door. I know the shipping team was working OT today to get a bunch of pins out. Oh, speaking of pins, Stanley just sold out.
The Stanley pin is gone.
Stanley's gone. You can
Greta's
too. It's
next.
$4 a month at 70mmpod.com. Get early access to episodes, exclusive episodes, before anyone else, or not even anyone else. Batman Returns episodes in the vault right now. Twilight, Shin Godzilla. Those aren't coming out of the Patreon vault. And if you share the show on social media, each week, tag us. You're entered to win a free year of Letterboxd Pro. And that winner this week is Raging Bull on Twitter. Lace.
My
Just won a
goodness.
year of Letterboxd Pro. No ads, custom stats. Find out where your movies are streaming. And just a reminder on our website, you can get 20% off 20% off Letterboxd Pro and patron status at 70mmpod.com. One movie I'll talk about before we move on.
Let's hear it.
Been on my watch list for a while. Saw it was on HBO Max. This is an HBO Max episode, if we can be honest. The check just cleared. Never, rarely, sometimes, always. Movie that I've seen, this poster I've seen in like a ton of 2020 lists. The shot of her face, it just drew me in. And it follows a pair of teenagers, girls from PA, Pennsylvania. Where my PA folks at? Woo! Danny's shaking his head. They go to New York because she is pregnant and she is looking to get an abortion without her mom's consent. Because in PA, she needs it. In New York, she does not. And it was shot so beautifully. This is like, my encapsulated review is, this is kind of what I was expecting from Lady Bird, this movie. You know, I think I gave Lady Bird like 3 stars. It was okay for me. This movie was really amazing. It really captured, not that I have any indication of how it feels to be a young pregnant teen, but just her desire to keep it secret from her family, that her family life would probably just implode should they find out, and the journey to go into, you know, to them, a strange land, New York City, Manhattan, to get an abortion and have to stay there and just continually try to hide it from her mom. I thought it was amazing. 4.5 stars. So much recommend. One of those movies you probably wouldn't want to watch again necessarily, but the experience was very, very powerful. We need to get into it. In the Mood for Love on HBO Max. Wink. Wong Kar-wai directed. This has been circulating in our feeds for a very long time. Proto gave an impassioned speech as to why he chose it last week. And I just want to reiterate a quote that a close confidant of mine had shared. The most erotic PG movie ever made. That was shared to me. Proto, can you walk us through this film?
Erotic innocence. All bodies make music as they move through space, and when the symphonic layers in our skin mingle, a resonance presumes. Forsaken lovers both, they live side by side with a wall separating them, neighbors who carry both the doubt, shame, fear, and emptiness that comes with knowing your love is loved by someone else. Their empty secret becomes a thread that weaves their lives together. Closer and closer the thread pulls them as they find solace in sharing heartbreak that they can neither escape nor confront. Their lives are cut in half, but can that bitter poison become a healing salve? Can they be made whole again and find a way to once again know love? In the Mood for Love.
Chat, Sean in chat says, this Discord is getting steamy. Art says, am I dimming the lights right now? Art says, drawing a bath. Holy smokes. We got to put a censor tag on that description for this movie. As I said before, this was popping off my feed for a few months. It was bubbling like Art's bath. Prada, do you have any indication about this movie ahead of time, like in the last couple months, or what was your first insight into this?
I think my only insight was just the synopsis on Letterboxd. I knew it was about a couple who had both have a cheating spouse, and that was really the extent of what I knew about it. I knew I was going to watch this either for the show or I was just going to put it on one night. I almost did a couple times this year. You know, you have that moment where you're looking for a movie and you're like, In the Mood for Love came up so many times where I wanted to put it on and it just never happened for me. So I knew I was going to watch it. So I stayed away from reading anything about it. So I didn't really know much going into it. And I've never seen any of Wong Kar-wai's other movies.
No, neither have I. There was a couple movies that popped up about people also loved besides this one, but this is new to you as well, right, Danny?
Yeah, I think I'd seen the poster or come across my Letterboxd feed quite a bit this summer, but it looked way too sexual, so I avoided it. I wasn't in the mood for love yet.
Have we told the story about how Crash was almost a episode on this show, but we didn't know how steamy that movie was? We had to pull back.
I mean,
that became the All or Nothing episode with Chuck. Probably we dodged a bullet.
I think
we dodged something in that choice. I'll go through my list first of items that I took notes down. This movie looks like a moving photograph. The cinematography in this movie, the shot choices, I don't know what the hell you call that, but there are so many screenshotable moments. And I looked up on the movie database website, not Internet Movie Database, the movie database, to grab some stills and backdrops. They all look like photographs, like from a very talented photographer doing a photo shoot. It's crazy to me how many shots in this movie look like an Esquire photo shoot or something. Like, it looked really good. It wasn't distracting in a way that I thought Hansel and Gretel was, that came out this year or last year, but it just set a crazy vibe for this, and it was insane.
Yeah, I felt like, especially, I mean, when the first shot of her opening the pale yellow window and her dress with the flowers, I was just like, holy cow. Like, you knew right away that you just knew that this film, they took time to care about the cinematography, the wardrobes, the color. I mean, the deep reds in this film are stunning. I mean, there's just, I mean, it's quite lush, the color in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sean in chat says props to Christopher Doyle and Mark Lee Ping Bin, who I believe did the cinematography. I think they did have two cinematographers. Pardo, what did you think about the visuals?
Yeah, I thought the word that came to mind for me was voyeuristic, where it felt like it was like a photographer who was trying to capture someone's day-to-day life, you know, as if they were invited into their home and they're like, just ignore me. I'm just going to like take pictures of you, like living your life. Cause there's like just the way the camera is set up in so many of these shots is really compelling. There's one early on where I think it's like outside of a kitchen window where it's like you're seeing through a curtain into another room past the kitchen. And then there's like that continuous shot where they're playing, I think it was backgammon. You know, it's shot from outside in the hallway and you don't see the whole table. You just see like three people at most sitting at the table. Just like there was just like so much consideration with the perspective that you had with all these shots. That was really compelling.
Danny, what's on your list for In the Mood for Love?
You know, we started off right away with what I want to talk about was how this film looked. Right away, I loved the type of film noir kind of vibes that this got, especially with I just drew a blank with the male actor's name. Is it Chong? Chow.
Tony.
Chow.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Chow.
There's so many great moments with Chow, especially when he's smoking. The smoking scenes with him, I actually really liked and kind of, you know, not that I wanted to smoke, but I kind of was like, man, this looks really cool.
Should I start smoking?
So many of like the cigarette coils like in the air were like way more sexual than like the actual chemistry between the two actresses, the actor and the actress. So this had like a great vibe in this noir kind of way that I just couldn't get over. And it was just really special. And I was actually really getting a lot of Parasite vibes with this film. Even with the score, there was this one repetitive score that they would play that just kind of made it like a little bit unsettling, and I don't know why it unsettled me, but just whatever that repeated music that they played, where there were like scenes where she would walk in the alley with the noodles or to get the noodles, and it was like either that or it was like the slow-mo scenes. There was something unsettling about those scenes, especially with the music, and I kept getting these weird Parasite vibes. Maybe it was because it was, I mean, I assumed that the two couples, they had money. There's just like no place to live in Hong Kong. So I feel like they were still kind of like going from, you know, not like class, but like upper middle class area where the neighbors have a chef, and then she would have to walk down into like the kind of slums and get her noodles from the lower class people. It was just very interesting, but there's just so much good stuff to look at in this film.
There's one shot of a light fixture at the top of the frame and the smoke billowing underneath the light fixture. Like it looked like just pornography. Visual pornography is what I was witnessing on screen. The one of my other notes was the noodles that they shared when she eventually, like, you know, their spouses are having an affair and they eventually uncover it, so they spend time together. They're having what I would consider an emotional affair at that point, but they don't even realize it. And there's one scene where she's like locked in, she's like in his room and she can't leave because they'll see her. And he opens up the noodles to like share with her. Those noodles look so good. I wanted to eat everything that they ate in this movie. It was like blowing my mind, the food. There's also a scene where they have dinner together and he is like putting, you know, like sides on her table to like help her eat or like help her experience the food a little bit differently as like, I guess, presumably as a husband would. And even that scene was amazing. Just the lack of communication between the two of them. They were just eating for like 2 minutes and the camera would just like shift around to their plates. A lot of interesting camera movements. Technically, this movie is a marvel, in my opinion. Like visually, another thing is this movie is like largely pseudo vignettes. It's not like a linear story, sort of. It's just kind of like these scenes just randomly played. You don't even know how much time is passing. A lot of times I rewound because I was like, what is this? Is she wearing the same dress? Is this the same day? Like there's one, I'm laughing at Farce, making fun of me for talking about nudes nonstop. That's my main takeaway from this movie is the noodles. There's a scene where they are walking down the alley and they're talking about, they're like theorizing, I wonder how it started between our significant others. And she like doesn't know at first and that you think that the scene ends, but then it like starts up again and they're having like this weird interplay as if they're like role playing how it started. And I actually didn't even get that scene until I looked at the Wikipedia where it said that they were like role playing and seeing how they actually, their spouses role played the scene. There's a few scenes like that where I kind of didn't get, I had to rewind. I was paying attention before anyone yells at me, but that was just my vibe. What about you, Proto?
There was definitely some confusing elements in this. I was confused at first by the fact that you don't see the other spouses at all.
Yeah.
And I was like confused as to like, wait, am I missing something? Like, you know, and I thought like, well, do these characters look the same? You know, and like, I'm just confusing them. I'm thinking they're the same person. Yeah. And then I thought like, oh, maybe she's playing both wives. You know, I at first, for the first like 10, 15 minutes, I wasn't sure what was happening. But then it becomes pretty clear that like, oh, okay, they're intentionally avoiding showing the cheaters throughout the entire movie, which is a really interesting choice. It totally changes this whole story and how you can relate to the characters. There's a lot. That's like I think one of the main threads through this whole thing is like, not only do they, you don't see the cheating spouses, but so much of like the visuals are obscured throughout the whole movie. Like I was saying earlier, like almost every shot, there's like a character you can't see, or you're only seeing like half of a room, or there's a continuous scene where you see them in a car, but you're seeing them from behind. So visually and just also like at a story level, that seems to be like an ongoing theme, and everything in this movie feels like very intentional. It's a movie that I feel that deserves multiple viewings to really appreciate what the writer and director were going for with telling this.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, and I'm glad that Proto was the first person to say that he was confused at the onset. I was going to keep that to myself just to save myself. So I appreciate Proto's bravery. Now I can come clean and say also I was confused. But I also at the end of this movie was thinking that I should probably watch this again before we record. Just because I feel like I didn't grasp the gravity of like a lot of scenes that just happened and kind of impacted the latter part of the movie. Like they have this emotional affair, you know, thinking naively that they wouldn't possibly fall in love with each other. Like, that's not going to happen. But then they eventually do. And he makes a decision to go to Singapore to work and says, come with me. I'll be at the hotel that we spent time writing my martial arts serial platonically as friends together for, and come meet me there if you want to come with me. There's another great shot of him smoking at the window of the hotel, and he just leaves, shuts the lights off. She doesn't show up. And then the next shot is her running down and crying in the hotel. And then a year goes by, I think, at that point. Like, the next, card says like 1963. And I'm like, holy shit, a year? And then the next scene after that, 1965. And I'm like, holy shit, 3 years. Like, I was kind of shocked that the story went that way. Like, they have their moments in vignettes over time. I have no idea how long it lasts. But then, life goes on for these two. And then the end of the movie, that's it. You're left to assume that they don't get together. So the last 20 minutes of this movie were really shocking to me, that's how the plot kind of developed. Danny, what did you think?
I mean, I was more shocked at him making out with a temple in Cambodia than anything in this film. Whatever he was doing in that hole, I don't even want to know.
PG-13 rated.
That was pushing.
He was whispering.
That was pushing PG
thing.
ratings. I don't know what was going on. So for me, I know you're talking about watching it again, and I'm not opposed to watching it again.
Sounds like you are.
I'm not, but man, I was bored. I was really bored in this film.
Let it out.
This film kind of checks all my boxes. Like, it's a visually stunning. I love the performances. Nothing is wrong on that front. But man, the story, I felt so bored. Like, I didn't care. I had no empathy for these characters and what they were going through. And I just got so bored. And maybe it was how it was told with the vignettes and how I was confused as well. I'm not going to lie about that. For sure.
Very brave.
Especially when I first caught it, the same part you did with the like double take in the hallway or the outside alleyway. But there was just so much about this that I just then I was getting to the point where, like, am I an idiot? Like, am I not connecting with this? Is the two of them writing the martial arts serial together like a metaphor for them actually having sex and having an affair as well? Mm-hmm. Or is this just what it is? And like, and then I just got tired of caring, and then I just got bored. And by the end of the film, and when he ended up in Cambodia with the temples, I was just like, yeah, I get it. He told the story about climbing the mountain and speaking the secrets into the hole. And I was checked out. I didn't care. The time jumps at the end. I was just like, whatever. I really didn't care. I like the fact that this was a PG film kind of bugged me because I felt no passion with the two of them. I wasn't getting that at all. I think the most emotional scene is when she breaks down and cries in front of him when they're doing the reenacting of how they're going to tell or ask the questions to their spouses. When she breaks down and she doesn't know, she didn't realize how hard it was going to be, mm-hmm. or how to experience that with him. And so at this point, I mean, it was just a little bit boring for me. I didn't find anything funny. I like the one comedic character asking him for money and stuff, but for me, the story really just falls super flat on my end. And it just was hard.
Yeah. I connect with you, Danny, with the not caring necessarily about these characters. I kind of felt the same way. And I don't know if it's because I can't really relate to what they're going through. And of course you don't have to go through the same thing to be able to have a connection with a character. Right. But so it felt like there was something else missing where I wasn't drawn into like the plight of where they were. And I actually feel like it might have to do with the fact that you're totally disconnected from the love that they've lost in their spouses. Like, not seeing Maggie Chung's husband, and like, you see at times how she's like emotional when like they're role playing, and he says like, yes, I have a mistress. And then she cries, and it's like, wow, like that was like a moving moment. But like you don't see any interaction with that person. So it was hard for me to like grow an empathy for these characters because it's missing that whole aspect. This whole thing, like the whole subtext of this is that they're like brokenhearted because their spouses are cheating on them, but we don't see any of that throughout the whole movie. And I felt like that kind of had me disconnected throughout.
Art says, do you think the choice to not have an affair themselves was a mutual decision? There's vibes he would have cheated. Anyone else pick up on that? There's a few scenes where early on, like really early on in their kind of like friendship, he like reaches to grab her hand and pulls away.
Yeah, she pulls away.
So I don't know what he was kind of going for there. Like maybe his emotional state at having discovered an affair was making him just kind of act erratically or rashly in that moment. I'm not sure. And yeah, later Mike points out they both said, we don't want to be like them, but they eventually did. And I just wanted to kind of jokingly say that Art has experienced this before in Discord where the vibe is turning from Art's rating. And I think Sean is feeling it a little bit for the first time. So Sean, welcome to the Discord. First of all, I'm glad that I wasn't the one to bring this up. The hiding of the spouses was very intriguing to me and innovative, but I think it did disconnect me from having a relationship with the two leads.
Yes.
And you can say that, I can't relate to them. I just talked about never, rarely, sometimes, always about a teenager getting an abortion in New York City. And I related a lot more to her in that movie than I had thus far in The Mood for Love. Art says losing a star every 5 minutes for a beer. So I'm just glad that came up because I did feel that as well. Let's see. I'm going through some of my other notes. The wallet keychain that he wore, I was way into that.
I knew you would be. I knew you son of a. I knew you'd be into that.
What was the setting? This was Hong Kong, right? 60s,
Hong Kong, 62.
60s Hong Kong wallet chain suit.
I knew it.
Okay.
It's very gangster. I knew you were into that.
His style was just on point in general.
Everything. I mean, her dresses, every outfit. I mean, she was stunning. Absolutely stunning.
They should have a museum set up for this movie with the wardrobe and the set, the production design, capital P, capital D. Pardo, what else yet?
Well, yeah, that kind of segues into really my main point is that Maggie Cheung is a miracle of cinema. I was enraptured by her the whole movie. She is, I don't know, she's like on another level. There's actually there's somebody I follow on Letterboxd who's pretty popular. We've talked about him like some of his Twitter posts. Nick Usen.
Oh yeah, great follow.
So he doesn't leave stars for any of his movies, and he rewatches a lot of stuff, and he'll just like leave like a zinger, like one line. And there's a movie that has Maggie Cheung in it, and it's called Irma Vep, which I watched earlier this year. And his review just says, "I'm looking at Maggie Cheung respectfully." And then he has like the blushing smiley face. And that's like what I felt like this whole movie. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, she's stunning. She's an amazing actress. This movie's rated PG, but question mark?
But your thoughts were PG-13. The scenes of them writing the martial arts strip, I thought were probably my favorite scenes because it really showed her opening up and smiling in a way that she was otherwise constrained in public. Like that, like speed wrap up of them working in the hotel was, I thought, their best scenes together. They were just having, fun. They were laughing. They were enjoying each other's company. But yeah, that was probably the last of my notes that we haven't mentioned yet. The other thing, just overall, we talked about the design of this movie. you could tell me this movie was made in the 70s, the 80s, the 60s, the 90s. I would believe you. Like they just nailed the timeless vision for this movie. You know, exactly what Sean said on Twitter. Like I think it was Proto in our Vertigo episode. I believe you asked, like, what are some other movies that have this kind of timeless nature? And Sean correctly responded with, you should check this out. And it's like on point. This movie is so timeless looking. I couldn't get over it. Danny, what else you got? Anything else?
I think Casey disliked this. I can't remember, but I really loved the music in this. I thought it was interesting that they played a lot of Latin music and then a lot of Nat King Cole. I thought it was very interesting and very weird choice, but there was a cool vibe to it. That was very, I don't know. I felt like that. I mean, that kind of helped with this kind of mood of love, for sure. But man, yeah, I don't have too much more to say. I think this is it's hard to say that this is a bad film. I don't want to say that at all, because I don't think it's a bad film. I just miss them. I just didn't connect with this story. And that's really where I'm at with it. I didn't connect with the characters. I just really wanted to, because it's a beautiful film. I want to watch more of his work. Someone was talking about a couple more in some of the reviews, how they compared it. And I think maybe if I had seen and knew more about the director coming into this, then maybe I would have known what I was in for. Because I think they're saying it's kind of like some of his other work as well. But yeah, I don't have too terribly much more to talk about.
About the musical piece.
The one that was popular throughout the movie?
Yeah, like that with the strings in it. Yeah, I almost wanted to like see a supercut of just those scenes. Because like I was saying earlier, where I feel like there's things that I missed, that almost felt like almost like a chorus that was repeated throughout the movie, or like a stanza in a poem that like comes up over and over again.
Yeah.
Almost tracks something prominent about the relationship as it develops. It just seems like this director had more in mind at like at a very fine detail level that like if you're not paying attention, you could miss. And like, I don't know what that thing is, but it feels like there's something more there. And I feel like that's also like the whole plot of this movie. Like, I know, like Danny, you were saying it's boring, and I felt that a little bit. I think like the second half, it does drag a little bit, but it's almost like the plot is like microscopic in terms of like what's going, like things are happening, but you have to be paying such good attention to what's going on, or else it'll seem like nothing's happening. So I really feel like this movie, it deserves, at least in my mind, more attention, or like a second viewing.
I think it deserves to not be PG. I mean, I think there's
PG-13.
No. I think it needed to be made into a PG-13 movie. I really wanted to feel the passion between the two of them. And I think keeping the story, less sexual, less, I just didn't feel it. That was my problem, was I really wanted to feel the passion between the two of them. And I just really didn't.
Did you see Maggie Chung eating the meat?
Listen, I'm not talking about how Maggie Chung made me feel as a warm-blooded male, but between the two of them, I felt nothing. And that's what bugged me the most about it, especially when you have incredible, like, poster work for this movie that is just giving off way different vibes than what we get in this film.
God. I wanted to spotlight a few Villagers reviews. Bax, who's listening right now, gave 4 stars. Do you appreciate stunning visuals, impeccable fashion, and love yearning? If so, buckle up, buddy. This one's for you. Boom, who I believe we have a voicemail coming to later this eve from the Cinernauts podcast, 4.5 stars. BTJ Movies, 1.5 star. The extremely boring and one-dimensional main characters made this a way harder journey than it needed to be. Sean Cohen, 5-banger on Letterboxd. Still amazed watching this film. Every shot has weight, and the colors, the movement, and sound become bards for the story.
My word.
That sounds like a pro
Did he say
review right there.
bards?
He just said bards.
My gosh.
Frodo's getting some Maggie Chung vibes again right now. Matthew Zavala, 4-banger. J Whale, 5. Mike R, I believe, is listening right now. 4.5 stars. A rare 4.5 banger from Mike Rappin right now. Middle Casey, 2.5. Mikey P, 4.5. Ben Sandberg, 5 stars. You heard the impassioned speech last week from Proto about Ben and his thoughts with this movie. And Dear Confidant Art, 4.5 stars. Is this the most erotic PG movie ever made?
No.
Danny is shaking his head. Proto, what's your rating for In the Mood for Love? And final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I feel like I've said everything that I want to say about the movie. Man, I was really digging it early on. That opening part of my synopsis, like it came to me while I was watching it. I was like, what am I in store for here? Like I was getting like, I was feeling my muse. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, you know, by the end of this, I wasn't really sure how to feel. And like we said earlier, just, you know, when I can't connect with the movie emotionally, I feel like just my overall gut of a movie is like, I don't know. It's almost like instinctual how I felt about it, or that's how I have to be with this movie. So I'm going to have to fall back on my Proto Lens TM patented trademark move, where if I ask myself, you know, what I thought of this movie, who hadn't seen it before, I would say this is a 3-star movie for me. It's a good movie. I appreciate everything we talked about in it, but yeah, I just didn't really connect with it in the way that I would want to.
Wow. The Proto Lens making its triumphant reappearance to wrap up 2020. Tyler, also Villager, 4.5 stars in Letterboxd. This might be the highest weighted VHS Villager movie in history. Yeah. Compared to, you know, what is about to happen for an average. Danny?
Interesting.
It's time.
Like I said before, this movie checked almost every single box for me. I loved the actors. I loved the wardrobes, the cinematography, the color in this film was impeccable. But it falls short in the story for me and the storytelling. And so I'm with Proto. It's a 3-star movie.
Wow. There was talk in the Discord that Proto was going to be the one to save this movie, and I didn't expect it to be me who was going to save this movie. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars.
Oh my!
This should have been a 5-banger. I think the decision to keep the spouses off screen was a death sentence for me. It kind of precluded me from feeling for the main leads. I also thought they were just kind of extremely naive in thinking that they weren't having an emotional affair right from the onset. But, you know, they learned that eventually. And, you know, I was kind of bummed that they didn't end up together after both marriages presumably fell apart, which is kind of depressing. They had this, you know, affair, essentially, due to the fact that their spouses had an affair. The marriages ended. They didn't get together. She had a kid. You know, it's over. It's pretty depressing.
It gave me Portrait of a Lady vibes, actually.
Yeah. Obviously not as good, in my opinion.
Plot-wise.
Because there was the parallels are now obvious to me, the endings of those movies. But I remember openly weeping twice when I watched Portrait, when she's looking at that painting and looking at her experience the opera. Are you kidding me right now with those scenes? And she sees the book in the painting. And this 3-star death sentence from Danny might as well have been a Muppets movie.
No,
Forrest says.
No.
I'm glad. Let me just say this. It's a technical visual marvel. I'm glad I experienced it. I'm sure we all are. Visually, good Lord, this movie. But I can see why it's so highly rated for sure. It just didn't vibe with me. We need to get to some of our voicemails, which I believe are related to this film, and you can leave us a voicemail audio file or write us a letter at 70mmpod.com. We have a long one
Okay.
in store. This might be the longest VM in history. I'm just going to set the stage right now. It's her first VM.
Oh, okay.
So, and she's new to the village. So we're going to let it slide this time. Boom.
Okay, boom.
So everyone relax, get your eggnog out.
I'm nogging.
Hey, 70 millimeter, it's Boom. What's up? You've all just been so kind in welcoming me into the podcast world and always throwing supportive words my way. So I wanted to say thank you and return the love and say that I think your show is awesome. I always enjoy hearing your perspectives. You have such a wonderful dynamic and you guys are absolutely hilarious.
Oh,
I usually listen to podcasts while I'm out running errands. So there have been several times where I'm listening to you guys that I have just burst out laughing in public. So if I get banned from my local grocery store, I'm blaming you guys. I also appreciate how much you guys talk about crying while watching movies. Catcher and Ian over at Cinenauts claim that they aren't movie criers, allegedly. So 70 millimeter is where I come for a dose of emotional validation. So I'm going to honor this safe space that you've created by telling you about both times I cried while watching In the Mood for Love last night.
Oh, wow.
Such a great pick, by the way. Technically, it's absolutely marvelous, and I love a tragic romance melodrama. Totally my jam. So yeah, first cry was when Sue is with the Mahjong ladies, and Chow is in a room of fellow journalist friends, and they're both surrounded by people, but they get up to stare out the window, and you just know in that moment everything they're thinking, everything they're feeling, and everything that has been left unsaid is just made to be so apparent. And my second cry was the ending. This film is just so stylish and stunning, but everything is so contained and almost feels claustrophobic. Everything also seems like it's happening at night in the dark. And then they cut to the end where Chow whispers his secret and we get these bright, beautiful shots and things seem to open up and it just feels freeing, even though it is still super sad because you obviously want Sue and Chow to be together. So yeah, I am so excited for this episode and to hear what you guys have to say. I hope you all have wonderful holidays, and I'll be tuning in next year for Sandra Bullock month because that's happening, right? You wouldn't tease and joke about that, right? This is a real thing.
We would never.
Anyways, happy holidays,
Sandy.
guys.
God, what a VM from Boom.
Gosh, Boom.
Unreal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Boom.
I
Boom,
did.
if I may.
You can
If you love tragic romance, I watched David Lean's Brief Encounter this year. And I'm the only person on my Letterboxd circle who's seen it. And I need somebody else to watch this movie.
Boom, please watch this.
Watch Brief Encounter 1945 by David Lean. I need someone to tell me what they thought of this movie.
Boom has her directive.
Yeah.
Should she choose to accept it. Boom referenced the podcast with Ian and Catcher, dear friends of ours, the Cinenauts podcast, as they travel through the Criterion Collection. And Sean in chat says there's still an opportunity to rethink these stars, guys. After that voicemail.
I'm thinking about it.
It's funny she referenced that they're not movie criers. Tara sent me a photo of Ian and her watching It's a Wonderful Life, and Ian at the end, Ian was just stoically unimpressed, no tears at the end of that movie. He's a robot. I need him checked out by a physician.
Something's wrong.
I think he gave that 4.5 stars.
His body's been snatched.
There's something wrong chemistry in his brain.
There's something. Yeah, we need to get this checked out, Tara. Listen, I'm proud to be the emotional beacon of tears.
You are.
In our
Definitely
society. We need to show people that that's acceptable behavior in our society. Next voicemail.
Hey, 70 millimeter podcast. It's your old pal Tim with his friends and family. We're in a car together. We're out delivering cookies and giving Christmas cheer to all the good 70 millimeter girls and boys that live in this place called Los Angeles. Oh my gosh, here we go. Say happy Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas!
Oh my word. What a VM from Tim.
Heartwarming.
Happy holidays,
Love
Tim.
you.
It's not
Love you,
safe to
Tim.
make those calls while driving, FYI. Please.
Not in LA.
Let's see. We got another VM. This one might be from Ben. Let's see.
Ben.
What's up, 70mm pod? It's Ben Sandberg calling in, first time, long time, and all that. I was touched by Proto's dedication of his final pick for 2020, so I figured I'd call in and talk about In the Mood for Love a little bit. I'm really interested in hearing what you guys have to say. I feel like the Discord has been generally positive on it so far, but I've seen a few dissents. I'm just hoping that Proto doesn't dismiss the recurring musical motif in the same way that he did with John Carpenter's iconic Halloween theme. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of In the Mood. I think it's one of cinema's masterpieces. I think it's probably as close as you can get to a perfect film. The setups are immaculate. Every camera movement is deliberate. The performances are incredible, and it contains, in my opinion, one of cinema's greatest scores. I don't think there's another film that I've seen, at least, that more perfectly captures the feeling of longing for connection with another person. Also, smoking really has never looked so cool.
Thank you.
Every
Thank
time I
you.
watch this, I
Vindicated.
think that I might mess around and pick up a nicotine habit. Anyways, again, I'm really excited to hear what you and the rest of the villagers have to say. I hope you guys have a happy holiday, a great new year, and just keep watching good movies. All right, see you guys around.
Wow.
Thank you.
What do you think Ben's reaction is going to be to hearing this episode, Proto? You know him best.
Hope he doesn't cancel the wedding.
Is it canceled?
I
Did
don't
he
know.
just text you?
No, not yet. It's still on. I don't know. Maybe like he's going to be around. Maybe he's just going to be like I'm going to walk in my living room. He's like, oh, I have all In the Mood for Love on. Funny that you're here in your own house. Maybe you want to sit down and watch it. I can teach you a thing or two. Honestly, I wouldn't mind watching it again. It's a gorgeous movie.
Busts out his red pen, looks directly at you, and just starts taking notes. Thanks for the VM, Ben.
What's up, 70mm? It's Lex, popping in again to check on you boys. Managed to watch It's a Wonderful Life after it was reviewed so well on the show. And yeah, it's a 5-star banger.
Yep.
Yes.
It did not disappoint.
Yep.
But beyond that, I've mostly been working on my own podcast and setting stuff up for the holidays. But I wanted to pop back in again and talk about In the Mood for Love. This movie was raved about from all sides of my corner of the internet. So I ended up checking it out earlier this year, and I loved it. It's a very impressionistic and, moody film. So it's very easy to get lost in the world that it creates. It's been months since I saw it, and it's still rattling around in my brain. So if that's not the mark of a 4.5-star banger, I don't know what is. Keep up the good work. Bye.
I like that send-off. You got to have a nice, catchy little send-off, you know, in the podcast space.
Setting the bar.
He cleverly
That's weird.
didn't mention his podcast name because that was probably his, Slim will probably mention it if I don't. That's how I'll get him to mention it. But if you're into Spider-Man, Spidey Signals podcast, he had an episode that dropped, I think, this week on The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it was like 3 hours long. Can you imagine talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for 3 hours, 2+ hours?
What happens? I don't know if I've seen 2.
Oh, it's junk.
Okay. It's not junk. Don't let them fool you.
Is your rating higher for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 than it is for In the Mood for Love?
Yes, it has to be.
Oh my God. Can someone verify?
Andrew Garfield alone
Can
deserves
someone
4
verify
stars.
in Discord Danny's rating for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 right now, please?
I'm
If
not
it's
even
higher
gonna
than
look.
3 stars, we need to have a discussion in the boardroom.
I'm sorry. You have Emma Stone.
Matthew
And
in
you
chat, junk certified. The podcast Godfather, Matthew Buchanan, has verified that it's junk.
Listen, we're now an IMDb show. where you can rank and
70 millimeter inspired by IMDb. Certified junk.
listen. I really like Andrew Garfield as Peter. It's hard for me to not like those movies. I enjoyed both of them quite a bit.
The first one was fine.
First
Good.
one's great. 3.5
3.5 stars. Are you kidding me?
Every time I see Andrew Garfield, all I can think of is
yourself?
that scrunched up face in the social network where he's kicked out and just, how did you do this to me? I'm mad.
Oh man,
He had some big hair in all his movies.
He's got
I think
great
as
hair.
Spider-Man, he had big hair too.
He's got great hair.
It's like Egon Spengler.
The one time you wanted to be Peter, you know?
Yeah, but you shouldn't want to be Peter. That's the
Well,
whole
too
thing.
bad you do. It's Andrew.
I get it, but that's
Can
the
you
thing
stop
with Peter
this?
Parker.
Oh,
You know,
not this time around, Matt.
Art is saying, "Can we do Social Network?"
Is it a good movie?
Uh-oh. Danny's on one
just
right now.
kidding. I
He's
like
on
that. I
one
like
after that Matthew Podfast got image
All right.
that just got posted. All right, we got one more voicemail to get
We
to.
got stuff to do, guys.
What up, 70 millimeter? Caleb calling. Recent movie aficionado, as you can tell by my letterbox. You guys inspired me, and I've really been on a good run recently. Just trying to dust the cobwebs off of my letterbox that sat dormant for so long. But that's not why I'm calling.
Uh-oh.
Before the year was out, I wanted to call and thank you guys. You guys give the greatest gift of all, and that is friendship. This podcast, as well as Slim's previous podcast, Paper Keg, people would come for the movies, or in that case, comics, but they'd stay for the friendship. Your friendship is infectious, and it makes anyone who listens want to be friends with you. The way that you are so open-armed with your friendship is inspiring. My life is better for having met you guys and become friends with you, and the people that I've become friends with by association with you. And I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being my friend. I love you guys, and I love the podcast, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, Casey.
Sorry, I'm snickering because Casey said it's Matt crying yet. Casey, you know me too well. What a fantastic,
Gosh, Caleb, thank you.
fantastic sharing of your emotions. It's another thing that I'm just all in for. If you're a man in this society, share your emotions as much as possible. That's the best thing you can do. Caleb, we value and appreciate you too. Love you, babe.
And Caleb has been on a run. His last 10 movies, they're averaging like 4.5 stars. He's just hitting all the big ones. And I love to see it.
He's on a run. He's on a Bogart run, if I remember correctly. Bogey.
Mm-hmm.
We're here for friends.
Sheesh. Come for the movies, stay for the friendship. Should I announce my cult movie pick for January?
Oh, it's time.
It is time.
I'm excited.
This
What
is
is it?
is that our joggers tagline?
I find out that RoboCop's a cult movie right now.
Are we about to find out?
RoboCop is a cult movie, but it's not my pick. I want to save that one. You know, maybe we'll have a special month where we all go through our top movies.
Is this in either of mine or Proto's letterbox right now? Have we seen this?
There's no rating attached.
Okay.
So I teased that it was just added to HBO Max. This movie came out in 1994.
Oh, the year of our Lord.
Danny
Wheelhouse.
instinctively
I love
knows
the
what an
90s.
amazing year that was.
I love the
He's
90s.
back already. This movie
5
came out.
stars.
I had the VHS. Every teen boy had this VHS. They got the DVD. They watched this on loop. Tagline is "Believe in Angels." Alex Proyas, Brandon Lee, The Crow.
Believe you did it.
Oh.
Holy cow.
HBO Max is on right now. I can't remember the last time this was available and streaming.
The Crow.
So this was on my list for a while, and I saw it streaming. I was like, "Oh hell yeah!"
Oh
Hell
my gosh.
yeah.
I cannot believe we're doing The Crow.
I'm excited. I haven't seen this in a very long time. I removed my rating before I made this announcement.
I haven't seen it since I've been on Letterboxd, so I'm very
This is-
excited
yeah,
to
this
watch
is-
it again.
This is BLB.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
So I'm excited. Next show,
Wow,
is going to
The
be
Crow.
a big one. This is the one. This is the infamous shoot where we lost Brandon Lee. This is the movie that kicked off the Sting 1999 makeup in WCW.
In WO.
Lex says he watched it earlier this year. Holy
My
moly.
God, he's on it.
Do you
Is
believe
that
it?
we're starting the year? The Crow.
We're starting the year with The Crow.
Do we want to announce the other thing for December?
What other thing for December? I'm confused.
Next December. It's
Oh,
pre-announced.
next
It's like when WWE announced that Rock was going to fight
Next
John Cena
December.
again at next WrestleMania.
Listen, if everyone's, Go for it, Matt.
We can sit on
Just
it.
do it.
We
Just
can
do
sit- Next December, we made a decision what movies we were going to do for the month of December. It's the 20th anniversary of a film franchise called The Lord of the Rings. And we'll be doing that movie series next year. Just
20th anniversary.
it's gonna. We have it, and we'll do breadcrumbs about which versions we're gonna do, what resolution we're gonna watch it in. But
Will we all have 4K TVs by then?
We have 1 year.
I pray to whatever God everyone worships that I'll get a 4K TV by next year. So we got a big year coming up. Thank you, everyone, for your support this year. Thank you for listening and sharing the show. Thank you for being friends in Discord. Proto, do you have any closing thoughts as we wrap up 2020?
Man, I just want to play Caleb's voicemail again. Yeah. You know what? We're here for the friendship. We were talking about this today. Our community that we have here, what has come about in the course of 1 year of just loving movies and talking about them and just the friendships that have been created and the fun that we have. I mean, it's, you can't make it up. You can't fake it. You can't copy it. You can't Xerox it. It's impossible. This is something special. I'm so thankful that on a whim, we decided to start this show. We were actually looking back at those messages a little while ago. It was so
crazy.
random how this even started. And the fact that where we are right now with everyone in the Discord and everyone who listens, it's been quite a ride and excited for the next year.
God, imagine what pins are going to come out.
God bless.
2021 with our dear friends at Letterboxd. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see everyone. Let me try that again. We'll see everybody next week. 70mm is a VHS Village production and produced by Dale_A. Original artwork provided by Danny Haas and spiritual guidance provided by Protolexis. Prints and other merch are available at 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed and edited by me, Slim. You can support our Patreon for early access to episodes, discounts on merch, a physical membership card mailed to you, and access to our Discord to talk movies with other villagers. If you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to Pro or Patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount at checkout on the web using the code 70mm. Goodbye.